That is correct. Moses. Moses broke all the commandments. I just thought I'd just start something here. My wife and I enjoyed the chili cook-off. It's too bad we didn't have a bigger crowd, but that's all right. She won uno numero prize, and I talked to the guy that counted all the votes afterwards, and he was kind of puzzled, and I says, what's wrong? And he says, well, there's 14 more votes than there was all the people in the place. Now, no wonder you took so long at the voting place. My sermon is not a sermon. It's very unconventional. And Angela took all my thunder here to a point. Thank you very much. And let me put my glasses on. I can't even read my own writing. Actually, it's a two-phased commentary or sermon here. I want to plead with you, and I'm speaking to the choir here. I want to plead with you to go out, if you're registered, and vote. That privilege in this nation has been given to us by God. We, in essence, are the only nation that can actually truly vote, unless they steal it like I think they did last time. And I'm not saying I know they did. But I think this time's going to be a little bit more challenging for them to do that. This election is the most important since I started voting in 1980. And the historians would say ever in the U.S. We are fighting for the Republic of the United States, not a democracy. Right now it is a democracy. We have a president that likes to pass illegal bills, and more or less it's not him. Oh, by the way, if I keep rambling on and I don't put sentences together, get me off the stage, I'll start acting like Kamala Harris that way. Anyways, the point is that in the last 2 years, there's been an evil that has been released upon this nation. It's never been like this before. Now it's been kind of ramping up. But ever since they got into office, they have passed not only illegal bills, illegal laws, and they've been taken to court for over half of them. And they've been challenged and they have been defeated. But sooner or later, the courts are going to turn to the way of evil too. That's why we have to get out and vote. Now we know that God installs governments. Paul and I talked about that. Isn't that true, Paul? God does install governments. So what let me start over on that one, is that I think God allowed this government to come in, and I'll tell you why. He's showing what man could be as evil as possible. He's showing us what this country is going to go through a real evil situation. And this isn't the tip of the iceberg, because when the beast comes in, or the Antichrist, if you want to call him that, it's going to be worse. But we aren't used to being dictated to stay in our homes because of COVID. We aren't dictated to say we have to accept the homosexual right until the last 2 years. There's many others I can go through, but I'm not going to go through them all. He's also telling us to rely upon him. We need to rely upon God. In countries that don't know freedom, like Hannah says, She talks about the freedom of the United States. These people go, what's freedom? They don't know. It's like talking to a blind person that's never seen color. What's brown? What's green? They've never seen it. Because these kids in Cambodia have been growing up underneath communism for the last umpteen years. They killed a lot of people that were actually the grown-ups in Cambodia that had freedom at one time. And when we look at these people that are in office, it shows the sin of man. And that doesn't surprise God, what's going on. In Ecclesiastic 1:9, it tells about how he is not surprised, but I'm going to read that. I should have had my Bible open. In Ecclesiastes 1:9 it says, that which has been is what will be. That which is done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. God has seen it all. Man has seen it all. It's just we haven't seen any of it back then. We do see it now today. Usually our government is actually meant to protect us. They're doing just the opposite. They're allowing sin and trouble, such as we're not becoming a sovereign nation anymore. We're allowing millions across that border down in the south. But people are rising up. Governors are rising up. We have people down there that are going to be voted on, and I do believe they're going to win big time. So, but they try to hide immorality. They lie through their teeth every time they turn around. And in essence, we know in 2 Timothy it talks about how they lie. And in Romans, how liars will not get to heaven. We need to pray for these people, though, even though you really don't want to. I don't want to. But God commands us to, and it's hard to do, to pray for these people. This is not supposed to be a regime. They're supposed to be open to what they're supposed to be doing. And every time they're running up against a challenger, a Republican, they lie about that person. Let me tell you about the things that they are doing. I'm only going to sound off two of them, but I could take this notebook and this page right here and half this page is everything that they've done either illegally or unmorally. But I look at abortion. Look at this precious little baby. And you look at our kids in this place. Here's a baby in the womb. How can they say that's just a mass of flesh? It's to lie to the people. How can you kill something like that God has created? There is no God in their heart. And we need to see that. We're fighting against the enemy, but it is not of flesh and blood. Satan is filling these people's minds and hearts full of poison. And when you look at that baby, how can you say that? They want to abort children up to the time of birth, and some of the governors would say even beyond infanticide. That's how far we've gone, folks. There's only two other countries in the world that does that, and that's China. And I don't remember the other one. Homosexual marriage. They want to codify the homosexual marriage law once the vote is all over with. They want to make it so that homosexuals are able to come into this church and tell that pastor to marry him. And if he doesn't, he goes to jail with fines. You don't know what's in this bill. There's a lot of stuff in this bill that they're going to try to codify. All they have to do is change 2 or 3 more votes in the Senate for the Republicans to vote for this. They're trying to codify abortion on demand, as I've said. That I don't think they're going to be able to do. But as far as the homosexual marriage, there's a lot of people, oh, I've got a brother, I've got a sister that's homosexual, and I got friends, my friends are homosexuals, and I love them too, and they love me. Well, it could change the votes. We have a transgender or reassignment surgery for kids from 17 down to 2 years old. That's sick. That's Satanist. And a lot of those, I'm going to call them Democrats, are for this. And if they're not, they're just following right along because that's their party. Down to 2 years old, this lady comes on from the White House, one of the cabinet members, and says, yes, we can identify a child that's 2 years old as whether they're male and female or the opposite. They could be the opposite. That is sick. And Vanderbilt, I don't know if you've been paying attention, University of Vanderbilt was caught doing this. And supposedly they quit. We don't know for sure. And they're allowing males into into their locker rooms just because they call themselves a female. And other things in that. I can go on, but I'm not. I'm going to read 2 Timothy chapter 3. Or chapter 2, I'm sorry. 3 is the other one. Okay. 15 through I got 15 through 16. It says, be diligent to present yourselves approved to God as a worker who does not need to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. But shun profane and idle babblings, for there will be an increase in more ungodliness. Now, the reason I brought that up, I should have turned it around, but the reason I brought that up is, as we as Christians, we do not sit on the sidelines anymore. We as Christians do not sit on the sideline anymore. We have to get out and do things, not only vote, but actually come against this darkness that's coming against us. 2 Timothy 3, 1 through 5, it says, but know this, that in the last days perilous times will come. For men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the form of godliness, but they deny its power, and from such people turn away. I've seen people like that. And I've debated with people like that. I'm a lot better one-on-one, by the way, than I am in front of people. But I just ask them, how can you believe this way? There's a God in the universe. Well, that's the point. There's a God that created the universe. They don't want to believe that. Their problem is that God is not in their heart. And I like Frank Turek. He asked a lot of these people. He goes before a lot of these colleges and he says to these atheists are coming up and asking him questions. And they're always asking about evolution or the Canaanites killing all the killed by God and this and that. And he finally says to some of them are hard-headed, he says, if Christianity was true, would you become a Christian? And the biggest share of them, I've only seen one, would say no. Boy, that's hard-hearted. You got to be sick, too, to even think that. It's saying, I don't want the power. I want to do my own thing, and that's what they're doing. You know, the funny thing is that in this nation, we're not as divided as you think we are. There's a lot of people that are not Republicans that are going to be voting Republican this time around because they don't want to lose their self-control, I guess. But it's the upper echelons that always destroys a nation or a church body, such as the Presbyterians USA or the Episcopalians USA or the Methodists. Now they're in a battle over homosexuality. It's always the other upper echelon that's doing this. So I'm going to leave this. I guess, like I said, I'm preaching to the choir. I guess what I'd leave you with is vote the Word, vote Christ. If He's in your heart, that's where you're going to go. And I praise God for our freedom to do this. And by the way, there was a senator that had told, what is his name? Tony Perkins. He told Tony Perkins, he was on one day, and Tony Perkins is on 5 days out of the week. And he told Tony Perkins, there is a bill being conjured up, not a bill yet, but I guess a writing or whatever, I'll call it a bill, is being conjured up that sooner or later we will not have the freedom to go and vote at our precincts. We have to mail them in. So, anyways, I'll leave it at that. I didn't mean to ramble on. And I'm going to go to this. I'm going to put in a plug for next week. We're going to have Sunday school starting at 9:30. And it's called The Agents of Apocalypse by David Jeremiah. Now, it's about end times. It's about Revelation. Back in the 70s and 80s, end times is well preached. Christ is coming today, and they're all making predictions. He's coming today because he's supposed to come on the feast of, what was that? The feast of, pardon? Anybody? Trumpets? Is that what it was? Well, he didn't show up. I don't mean to demeanor to God. It's just that people are always trying to predict when he's coming. But he is coming, and we see it. We see it in this nation. We see it in the world. He's coming. And I want to tell you about this one child. His mother caught him eating a dollar bill, and he swallowed it. And she took him to the doctor, and she was all worried. And doctor examined him, and he says, "Well, he seems fine and normal now, but call me if you see any change." So I'd throw that in there. We're starting next Sunday at 9:30. I'd love to have you make it. And we are having, as soon as I get it out here, we do have workbooks. So we're going to have workbooks for you. If too many people come, which I expect every one of you to come. No, I'm kidding. Whoever comes will get a workbook, one per family. They're not cheap, but hey, we can talk about it. And if you have opposing or not opposing, but just different viewpoints, I don't mind that. Nothing's 100% that we know of in the book of Revelation, the book of Daniel, the book of Ezekiel, the book of Jeremiah, Zephaniah, and you go on. And even in First Corinthians and Thessalonians, you got different scriptures that say different things about, well, not different things, but things about the end times. I've had people I've talked to about, do you want to know the future of yourself and of the United States or of the world? They go, yeah. Well, come to a Bible study I got. No, I don't think so. Well, I'd be talking about, like, I didn't have things like this. I went with, now I can't remember. There was like 3 or 4. That's short-term memory at my age, right? But anyways, we as a nation in the U.S. are the final bastion for freedom. And we're going to see things happen that you may not like. But we need to be ready. If this election doesn't go the way we want, then we're going to be still going out to give the word of Christ. And you need to be ready for that. If you're not, they're going to run over you. And I'd love